They had hunted monsters across the stars, creatures made of acid and flame, beasts that lived in shadows, giants with teeth like knives. The hunters had faced them all and never feared. They were the galaxy's strongest warriors, trained to kill, paid in gold, and respected by all. Planets called them when armies failed. But now, on a cold and quiet moon far from the center of the galaxy, these same hunters sat in silence. The moon was dark. Only a few lights blinked on the landing pads. Ships shaped like wings and claws stood still. Inside the metal hall, the hunters gathered, tall aliens with glowing eyes, armored skin, and sharp weapons. No one laughed. No one drank. The air was heavy with fear, and all because of one word: Deathworlders. No one said it loudly. It passed like a whisper, like something cursed. These mighty killers who had fought horrors beyond imagination were now afraid of beings no one had even seen clearly. Only rumors, only broken signals. But those were enough. One hunter stood scarred and proud. His name was Grell, and he had fought on over 100 worlds. His voice cut the silence. "This is foolish. We've crushed entire empires. What are these Deathworlders?" An old hunter answered, one with only one eye and a missing arm. "I saw them," he said, voice shaking. "Or maybe just one. It was during a contract. A small planet. We were told it was easy prey. No defense, weak life forms. But when we landed..." He paused. Everyone leaned closer. There was fire everywhere. Our scanners said the atmosphere was toxic, the gravity too high, the temperature unstable. But they lived there. Walked like it was nothing. One of them. It looked at us. Just one. It smiled. Some laughed, trying to break the tension. But their laughter died quickly. It tore through our armor, with its hands. We fired everything. Lasers, acid bolts, plasma. And it just kept coming. Like it didn't even feel pain. I ran. I shouldn't have. But I did. The hall went quiet. Again. Someone asked, "What happened to the others?" The old hunter looked away. Gone. In minutes. Another stood. This one younger, proud, but clearly nervous. "We have no proof. One story, one mad tale. Maybe he saw something else. A weapon? A trick?" Before anyone could agree, the main screen on the wall flickered. A signal was coming in. Damaged. Full of static. The Council had sent a scout team to investigate the death world called Earth. Their ship had arrived weeks ago. Now the first message was being received. The screen cleared for just a second. What showed made even the bravest hunter freeze. A soldier, helmet cracked, blood running down his face, was screaming, "Don't come here! Don't..." Then his body was lifted off the ground by something huge and fast. The camera spun. Then, darkness. Just 3 words were spoken before the signal died. They smiled, laughing. The room exploded into noise. Some shouted to send fleets. Others said they should leave the death world alone. Let it stay where it is. But a few, those who always needed to prove their strength, wanted to go. They believed it was a lie, a story to scare children. They were wrong. In the shadows of the room, one figure sat silently, a female hunter, known for never speaking unless it mattered. Her name was Kayla. She had hunted star serpents and killed the ice giants of Varnak. No one had ever seen her afraid. Now she whispered, "I have seen fear before. I have smelled it in the blood of prey. I smell it now on all of you." The others looked at her. She continued, "If even one Deathworlder is real, we must understand, not to kill it, but to survive." Far above, in deep space, the Council met in secret. They had seen the same signal. They had read the same reports, and they had made a decision. A full survey team would be sent to Earth. Not to fight. Not yet. Just to watch. To learn. And in the blackness of space, where no light from any star could reach, something moved. Something with eyes that glowed like fire. It had no ship, no armor, no fear. It whispered to itself, words full of laughter. They're coming. Good. Let them come. The game had begun. The hunters, once fearless, had finally met a shadow darker than anything they had faced. And the Deathworlders, they were only getting started. The scout ship landed on Earth without making a sound. It hovered above the clouds for a few hours, scanning everything. The planet looked normal. Too normal. Green lands, blue oceans, animals, buildings, and humans. The aliens laughed. This world looked soft, peaceful, even weak. They called it a mistake. There is no danger here, one of the crew said. He had silver skin and 4 eyes. His name was Tilrex. He was the team leader. Maybe the reports were lies, or just stories made bigger by fear. The others agreed. The Deathworlders? What a joke. These humans didn't even look dangerous. They were small, only 2 arms, 2 legs, and soft flesh, no claws, no armor. They walked around in colorful clothes and smiled too much. From above, they watched a small town. It had houses, cars, and parks. Children ran and played. Old people sat on benches. Birds flew in the sky. It looked peaceful. Boring, even. Let's land, Tilrex said. The ship turned invisible and landed in a forest nearby. The crew wore their camo suits and walked quietly toward the town. Their mission was simple. Observe, record, report. No contact, no fighting. They reached a schoolyard. Children were laughing and throwing something. A ball. The aliens watched from behind trees. They're so weak, one whispered. They don't even carry weapons. Then something strange happened. One of the children, a young girl with short brown hair, was playing near the road. Suddenly, a large dog ran into the street, and a speeding car came from the corner. The girl ran fast, too fast, and Dequirwin lifted the car just enough for the dog to roll under it safe. The aliens stared in silence. That car weighs over a ton, one of them said, checking the scanner. How did she do that? Maybe. It was a trick, another asked, but his voice was shaking. No, that was strength, real strength, and she's just a child. Before they could think more, the girl turned. She looked straight at the trees. At them. She smiled. The crew froze. She can't see us, one said. But she could. The girl raised her hand slowly and pointed at them. The aliens turned and ran. They didn't stop until they reached the ship. Inside, alarms were going off. One of the monitors showed something moving fast, very fast, from the town toward the forest. What is that? Tilrex shouted. The screen zoomed in. It was the girl. She was sprinting toward them faster than their scanners could track. She's not human, one shouted. Tilrex gave the order. Take off, now. The ship lifted just as the girl reached the clearing. She stared up at them, eyes glowing slightly. Then she waved. Back on the council moon, the video was shown to the leaders. Everyone watched in silence. Is she a weapon? Someone asked. Is she alone? Another whispered. They replayed the moment where she lifted. The car, the moment she smiled, and most of all, the moment she looked at the hidden aliens. One leader stood. His skin was pale blue, his robes covered in stars. This is not just a dangerous world, he said. This is a death world. And that girl was probably not the strongest one. Then who is? Someone asked. Maybe her father, her mother, maybe her teacher. A pause. Then he said the words no one wanted to hear. Or maybe they're all like her. Meanwhile, back on Earth, the girl walked home like nothing happened. Her dog barked happily beside her. She reached her front yard and saw her grandfather sitting on the porch drinking tea. Did you lift another car today? He asked with a smile. She giggled. Just a little one. He nodded. I told you to be careful. The Sky Watchers saw you. I know, she said. They were scared. Good, her grandfather said. They should be. And high above Earth, the scout ship flew silently through space. Inside, no one spoke, not even Tilrex. They had seen something they didn't understand, something that didn't make sense, and worst of all, that smile. It wasn't angry. It wasn't evil. It was calm, like a warning. The galaxy had made a mistake. They came looking for prey. Instead, they found Earth. They found Deathworlders, and they had only met a child. The galaxy had many dangerous planets. Some had deadly storms. Others had burning heat or freezing cold. But Earth was different. It had all of those things, and more. It was a place that never stayed calm for long. Storms stronger than warships, mountains that broke the sky, animals that hunted in silence, diseases that killed in days. Earth wasn't just dangerous, it was a challenge to survive every day. And yet humans lived there. Not just lived, they thrived. The Council wanted answers. The scout ship had returned with terrifying data. A child had lifted a heavy car and smiled at armed aliens. That was not normal. So the Council sent more spies, not to fight, just to watch, to learn. This time they stayed hidden, tiny machines flying like bugs, satellites that copied the sky, cloaked ships floating in orbit. They recorded everything. What they saw made no sense. In every part of Earth, humans were training, running, fighting, climbing, wrestling, even the young ones. Even the old. It was everywhere. In schools, in parks, in forests, in deserts. Some did it for fun. Some called it sport. But to the aliens, it looked like preparation for war. One spy recorded a group of teenagers running through fire, crawling, through mud and jumping from walls. They're just children, the spy said, confused. Why are they doing this? Another group was inside a building with weights, ropes, and machines. They shouted and pushed their bodies harder and harder. They break themselves, one alien said, on purpose. Footage from around the world showed the same thing. Climbing cold mountains, diving deep into oceans, sleeping in snow, walking through deserts with no food, and smiling while doing it. Why? The aliens kept asking. Why train like this? What are they preparing for? The answer came from a human video. A soldier dressed in simple clothes stood in front of a group of new recruits. His voice was calm but strong. This world doesn't care if we're weak, he said. It doesn't slow down for anyone, so we become strong, for our families, for our people, for the ones who will come after us. The spies reported back. Earth was not a peaceful world. It was a training ground, a death world. And the Deathworlders were not born dangerous, they chose to be. One alien spy made the mistake of landing near a small human village. He wanted to get close, to see how they lived. He took the shape of a human and walked into town. At first it was quiet. People smiled, waved, offered food. He thought maybe it was fine. Then he heard a scream. 2 children were trapped under rubble from a collapsed building. Without thinking, the alien ran to help. But before he could, an old woman pushed past him. She lifted part of the wall with shaking arms. A man, missing one leg, dragged the children out. Another, blind in one eye, gave them water. They moved fast like they had done this before, like they had trained for this. The alien watched, stunned. These people had no armor, no tools, no weapons, but they were stronger than most soldiers he had seen in the galaxy. He left that night, afraid. Back on his ship, he made one final note. This is not a planet of peace. This is a planet of warriors. And they don't even know how strange that is. To them, it's normal. More reports came in. The humans were not only training their bodies, they trained their minds. They played games of war, ran tests of speed and logic, studied everything from space to strategy. Even their games, and the ones they called video games, were about fighting, surviving, building, and leading. The spies watched a group of children play a game about surviving after the world ended. One of them said, We have to stick together, build shelter, find food. Another said, if monsters come, we fight. They were smiling as they said it. The council was silent for a long time. They train for war, one member said, even when there is no war. They prepare for pain, another said, even when they are safe. They are ready for anything. No, a voice finally said, they are ready for everything. Above Earth, the alien spy ships turned and left slowly. Their job was done, but none of the spies felt victory. They felt something else. Fear, because they had seen the truth. Earth was not dangerous by accident. It was dangerous by design. And the Deathworlders, they had survived it. They had grown stronger in it. And now, they were looking at the stars. One message was sent to the council from the lead spy. Just 4 words. Do not anger them. But it was too late. The humans had already noticed they were being watched. And one of them, sitting on a roof, staring at the sky through a telescope, smiled. They're up there, he whispered. Good. The council thought it was still safe to observe Earth. They believed their spy ships were hidden. Their tiny machines, flying like insects, still floated through Earth's air. Their satellites copied the sky. They watched, recorded, and sent reports. But humans had noticed. They didn't say it on the news. They didn't shout it from rooftops. They watched back, in silence. In a dark room under a quiet mountain, a group of human scientists stared at a screen. A young woman with short black hair pointed at blinking red dots. These aren't natural objects, she said. Too fast, too cold, and they move like they're watching. A man with gray hair nodded. They've been here for months, watching us, studying us. Another woman, a former soldier, looked angry. They think we're prey. The room went silent. Then the man said, it's time we send a message. The humans didn't launch an attack, not yet. Instead, they started tracking the spies, one by one, satellite by satellite, drone by drone. They didn't shoot them down. They hunted them. A flying alien probe zoomed over a forest. Below, a group of campers sat around a fire, laughing. But one of them, a tall woman with calm eyes, was holding a small device. She clicked it once. The alien probe exploded in the sky. No sound, just a quiet burst of light. Gone. In the council's spy ship, alarms blared. Unit 73 lost. Then, minutes later, another voice. Unit 74, gone. Then 75. Then 76. Panic filled the control room. They found us, one alien whispered. They're taking us down, another growled. They weren't supposed to know. But humans knew. And worse, they understood. In a military base deep in the desert, a team of human soldiers watched videos of alien tech. They had captured parts of the probes, studied their energy, their signals. One soldier looked up and said, they made a mistake. They showed us their tech. Another added, we're already copying it. Inside another lab, scientists used the alien metal to build new machines, lighter, stronger, smarter. One whispered, they came to learn about us, but they just gave us what we needed to reach them. Back on Earth's surface, things looked normal. Children still played, people went to work, farmers planted crops. But high in the skies and deep in the oceans, human ships moved quietly, testing, preparing, hunting. Far above, one of the main alien spy ships was cloaked, hidden near Earth's moon. It had stayed silent for weeks, watching, waiting. Now it was shaking. Something had touched it. Something had landed on it. From the outside. The crew panicked. There's no way they can reach us here. But the screen showed a human. In a black suit, no ship, no noise. Floating calmly in space. Holding tools. Looking straight into the ship's camera. He waved. Then placed something on the hull. And vanished. The ship exploded 5 minutes later. No signal. No warning. Just gone. The council couldn't stay quiet anymore. They called an emergency meeting. Earth is not under control, one said. They are fighting back, another added. But how? Someone shouted. They don't have ships, they don't have fleets, a deep voice answered. It was a shadowy figure, one of the oldest members of the council. They don't need fleets, he said. They have something worse. Everyone waited. They have the will to win, and now they have a reason. That night, another message came from Earth. It was short, direct, broadcasted across secret alien channels. You watched us, now we're watching you. In the shadows of the galaxy, many races had once laughed at Earth, called it weak, called its people soft. But those same races were now silent, afraid, because humans weren't hiding anymore. They were planning, they were building, and they had started the hunt. One alien commander far from Earth looked at his crew. We need to send a warning. Tell them Earth is dangerous. His second-in-command asked, will they listen? The commander didn't answer, because deep down, he knew. It was already too late. The Deathworlders had seen the galaxy's teeth, and they didn't run. They bared their own, and smiled. The council was scared now. Earth was no longer just a strange world, it was a threat. A big one. They had sent spies. Gone. They had watched quietly. Failed. They had been hunted. Now they wanted to show their power. They thought humans needed fear. So the council made a decision. Send an army. They gathered warships, big ones, strong ones, machines that had destroyed entire planets, soldiers with weapons that melted stone, creatures from prison worlds, bred only for battle. 7 warships were sent, enough to burn any normal planet. They didn't tell the public. It was supposed to be quiet, fast, clean. Go to Earth. Land near one of their cities. Show force. Make them submit. The fleet jumped through space and arrived near Earth's orbit. They never came back. No one heard from them again. No signal. No escape pod. No wreckage. Just silence. At first, the council thought it was a mistake. A glitch. Then, a small object was found floating outside the council's space station. A black box. Alien tech but touched by human hands. It had one message inside. Just 4 words. Send more if you want. Panic spread fast. How could they defeat an army? One council member shouted. They don't even have a fleet. Another cried. They're just humans. But they were wrong, because Earth had prepared. When the warships had entered orbit, Earth didn't panic. They didn't run. They watched, and then they struck. Not with lasers, not with missiles. With silence. With speed, with knowledge. The humans had studied the alien tech. They had found weaknesses, blind spots, flaws in their systems. They moved like shadows. A team of 12 human operators and only 12 boarded the biggest warship silently. Inside, they used the enemy's own tools. Turned systems off, locked doors, turned lights into traps. The aliens inside were strong, big, trained. But they weren't ready for what came next. Humans didn't shout. They didn't roar. They came in cold and quiet. And one by one, every alien on the ship vanished. Some were trapped, in sealed rooms without air. Some were taken down with silent blades. Others were tricked. Doors opened into space, dragging them out. No one survived. And the other 6 ships? They saw nothing. Just silence from their lead ship. Then darkness. Then, their own lights went out too, one by one, until none remained. Humans didn't use force. They used fear, the same fear the galaxy had once used on others. Now it was their turn to feel it. In the dark council room, many were silent, scared, shaking. They didn't just destroy the army, someone said. They made it disappear. A voice from the shadows spoke up. No fire, no noise, just gone. A young alien officer ran into the room, pale and sweating. Earth is sending a message. What is it? The council asked. The officer showed the screen. It was a human. A woman with dark eyes, wearing a black uniform. Calm. Still. She looked straight into the camera and spoke in slow, clear words. This was our warning. We don't want war. But if you bring it to our home, you will find no mercy. Not from us, not from our world. Then the screen turned black. Silence filled the council room. For the first time in 1,000 years, the galaxy didn't feel safe, because something terrible had been awakened. Not monsters, not beasts, humans. They weren't the strongest species. They weren't the fastest, but they were something worse. They were patient, smart, and now, angry. From deep in space, where nothing should live, a message came through a private channel. It was a whisper, a secret voice. One alien captain, old and wise, spoke into the dark. I saw it, he said. I saw them take our ship. How? Another asked. They didn't attack with fire, the captain said. They attacked with fear and precision. They weren't loud, they were hunters. Where are they now? Someone asked. The captain looked down. Already gone. Already watching. And somewhere on Earth, in a hidden base deep under a mountain, the human operators were training again. Silent, focused, strong. One of them cleaned his blade, another studied maps of the stars. A third one whispered, "They'll send more." The leader nodded. Let them. And outside, the wind blew across Earth's wild lands, a world that shaped killers not with rage, but with discipline. The Deathworlders didn't just survive the galaxy's challenge, they passed it. And now they waited for what came next. The galaxy didn't sleep anymore. Every species, from the skyflyers of Ventraxis to the stone-skinned warriors of Korgul, watched the stars and wondered one thing. What are the humans? They had called Earth weak. They had sent spies. They had sent an army. Nothing came back. The council held secret meetings, far from their cities, far from their people. Even their most powerful leaders whispered now, afraid of being heard. The question hung in every room, heavy like smoke. How did we get it so wrong? Finally, one old scholar spoke. She had studied death worlds her whole life, worlds filled with poison, fire, and beasts. But Earth was different. It had everything. Storms, predators, volcanoes, floods, ice, heat, and still and life. And not just life. Humanity. She stood up and said, "We didn't find a death world. We found the home of Deathworlders." The room went still. They were not made strong, she continued. They made themselves strong, not because they wanted to rule the stars, but because their world gave them no choice. She played an old video. It showed a child learning to walk. He fell again and again. He cried. Then he stood up, shaking, and took a step. The council didn't understand. "This is how they begin," she said. "By falling. And standing. Over and over." Then she showed more. A teenager running into fire to save a stranger. A mother lifting heavy stones to dig out her trapped son. A blind man learning to fight without sight. "Do you see?" she whispered. "They are not just strong in body. They are strong in heart." Another council member spoke. "But what about the army? How did they defeat it?" The scholar shook her head. "We trained soldiers to kill, they trained people to survive. That was the difference." In many parts of the galaxy, peace had made species soft, lazy, proud. But on Earth, peace had never lasted long. The world itself was a test, every day, every generation. From the deserts of Africa to the frozen poles, from wild jungles to dark oceans, humans had faced fear their whole lives, and every time they had stood back up. One younger alien whispered, "Are they coming for us now?" "No," the old scholar said, "not unless we give them a reason." But it was already too late for peace. In a hidden room on a forgotten space station, another group of aliens was not afraid. They were angry. They were warlords from a distant sector. They didn't believe the stories. They thought the council was weak, afraid of shadows. "They're just humans," one shouted. "We're millions. Another slammed his fist on the table. Let's go take Earth ourselves, crush them and be done with it. The others agreed. They built their own fleet. Secret. Faster. Deadlier. They didn't tell the council. They sent 10 warships filled with mercenaries, killers, and monsters bred in the dark. They smiled as they approached Earth. But Earth didn't. Wait this time. The humans had seen them coming, and they had already prepared. The warships reached Earth's orbit, then nothing. No signals, no battle. They simply disappeared. One alien mercenary survived. Days later, a small escape pod drifted into a trade station. Inside was the mercenary, barely alive, burned, broken, shaking. He only said one thing, "Don't go to Earth, don't even look at it." Then he passed out. Doctors tried to ask him what he saw. He whispered one word, hell. The story spread like fire, and for the first time in many years, the galaxy stopped. No one invaded Earth again, not out of peace, but fear. Back on Earth, the humans didn't celebrate. They didn't party. They didn't shout, victory. They just kept training, running, climbing, lifting, studying, waiting, because they knew something the galaxy didn't understand yet. It was never about power. It was about surviving, about protecting each other, about facing fear and moving forward. Anyway. One human general looked up at the stars one night. Beside him stood a child, maybe 10 years old, who had been training in the mountains. The child asked, "Will they come again?" The general nodded. "Someday." "What will we do?" The general smiled, not with joy, but with quiet strength. "What we've always done. We survive, we endure, we fight, if we must." The stars above twinkled like eyes, watching, waiting. And Earth watched back, quiet, ready, unbroken. For weeks the galaxy was quiet, too quiet. No ships moved near Earth, no probes were sent, no armies marched. Every species, warlords, traders, kings, even pirates, stayed away from the blue planet, because they all feared the same thing, the Deathworlders. But something changed. It wasn't another attack, it wasn't war. It was something no one expected. A message from Earth. It was sent in every major language used in the galaxy. Clear, calm, no threat, no lies, just truth. It said, "We are not your enemies. We do not seek war. But if war finds us, we will not run. We will never kneel. We are humans, from Earth, and we protect our own." The message shocked many. Some called it pride. Others called it warning. But the bravest ones saw something else in the message. Hope. In a dark part of the galaxy, a group of alien rebels had been fighting against cruel rulers for years. Their people had been hunted, caged, and silenced. But when they heard the human message, something changed. They didn't hide that night. They stood up. Because if humans could fight against armies, maybe they could too. On another world, a young alien engineer, weak, poor, forgotten, replayed the message 20 times. He wrote one word on the wall above his bed. Endure. In hidden corners of space where hope had died, small sparks began to light. Not because humans had brought weapons, but because they had shown what it meant to be unbreakable. Back at the council, the leaders gathered for one last vote. One of the oldest members, who had once mocked Earth, now looked tired. "They could have destroyed us," he said. "But they didn't." Another spoke. "They waited, watched, even after we sent armies." "We feared them," a third said. "But maybe we should learn from them instead." And for the first time in history, the council sent a new kind of ship to Earth. No guns, no soldiers, just diplomats, peacemakers. When the ship entered Earth's space, it did not hide. It turned off its shields. It opened its gates and waited. Humans noticed. On a mountain far above the clouds, the human general stood beside his team. The same black-clad operators who had once destroyed fleets. They were silent, watching, waiting. But this time no attack came. just a voice on their comms. We come in peace. We come to listen. We come to kneel, if that's what it takes. The human general didn't smile, he simply gave a quiet nod. Land, but understand one thing. The alien voice answered, nervous. What is it? The general said calmly, we don't want your fear. We want your respect. If you offer, that you will have ours. The ship landed, and for the first time, humans and aliens sat together, not as prey and hunters, but as equals. Stories were shared, maps exchanged, warnings spoken, and slowly, trust began to grow. Not everywhere, not right away, but it started. A new law was passed by the council. No species could ever call another weak without understanding their world first. The law was named the Earth Code, in honor of the Deathworlders who stood without weapons and made the stars listen. Years passed, but no one forgot. Children across planets learned about Earth in school. They didn't learn it was dangerous. They learned it was powerful, because its people never gave up. On a ship above a quiet moon, an old alien war captain looked out at the stars. He turned to his young cadet and said, once, we laughed at humans. We thought they were soft. What changed? The cadet asked. The old captain smiled slowly. They reminded us what strength really is, not in firepower, not in muscle, but in the will to rise, even when everything tries to push you down. The cadet looked out the window. Far in the distance, a small blue planet floated in space. Earth. The planet that once stood alone. Now, respected by all, feared by some, but bowed to by none. And above that world, a simple flag flew on a quiet station. No crown, no empire, just a single word, written in bold, honest letters. Human. And in the silence of space, the stars burned brighter, as if they too had learned to respect the Deathworlders.